cold. The first thing Jack felt was a piercing, bitter cold that seeped into his very bones. He opened his eyes, but all around was impenetrable darkness, broken only by a single beam of weak light falling from somewhere above. His head was splitting, and a vile taste of copper and fear filled his mouth. He tried to move, but his arm, with a crash that was deafening in the ringing silence, tugged on a heavy chain shackled to the wall by a massive steel band around his wrist. Panic, sharp and blinding, slammed into his temples. He jerked his whole body. The chain rattled maliciously. As his eyes adjusted to the gloom, they began to make out his surroundings. A basement, old, abandoned. The air was thick and stale, smelling of mold, damp earth, and something else. Sweetish and disgusting. Familiar, the smell of blood. "Hey," his voice sounded hoarse and unnaturally loud. "Who's there?" From the opposite corner came a groan. Another person. He stirred too, his chain scraping. "Where am I?" "What's happening?" said an unfamiliar voice, tight with horror. "I don't know," Jack answered honestly, trying to free his hand again. The steel bit into his flesh, offering no chance. "Are you chained?" "Yes, a chain to the wall." "Dear God, what is this?" The beam of light, like from an old projector lamp, flickered and danced with dust, illuminating a circle in the center of the room. And in that circle lay a man, or rather, what was left of him. He was sitting, leaning against an old fungus-covered barrel, his head thrown back, a neat, small hole gaping in his forehead. A bloody dew had congealed on his temple. In his right hand, lying limply on his knee, he clutched an old revolver. A dark, sticky puddle had spread around him, soaking into the earthen floor. Next to his foot lay a portable cassette recorder, about 20 centimeters from his lifeless fingers. Jack felt his stomach lurch into his throat. The stranger in the corner groaned. "Dead. He's dead." "I see." Jack gritted his teeth, looking away. Panic was slowly but surely turning into an animal, all-consuming terror. He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to gather his thoughts. "Name Jack Malone. I'm 38. I'm an architect. Wife, Lisa. Daughter, Emily. She's 6. We were walking in the park. And then nothing. Absolute thick blackness. The last thing he remembered was the taste of cinnamon coffee he'd drunk while working late at the office on a project, and a sharp prick in his neck as he was walking to his car. I don't remember how I got here," said the voice from the corner. "My name is Travis Shaw." "Jack," he introduced himself shortly. "Do you know me? Are we acquainted?" "No, first time seeing you, I think." They fell silent, again trying to comprehend the absurdity of the situation. Two strangers chained in a basement next to a corpse. Who was this third man? Their kidnapper? Or just another victim? And why did he have a gun? Suddenly, with a sharp click, a small red light on the recorder lit up. The tape inside began to spin. A hissing sound came from the speaker, followed by a voice. It was calm, almost gentle, yet utterly lifeless, mechanical, as if distorted by a vocoder. "Good morning, gentlemen. Or evening. It no longer matters to you. Welcome to the game." Jack and Travis froze, staring at the recorder. "You are here for a reason. Each of you is a sinner. Each of you is guilty. But today you have a chance to atone for your guilt. Or to deepen it." The voice made a theatrical pause. In the basement, Jack could hear the blood pounding in his temples. "Before you is the instrument of your atonement, a Nagant system revolver. It has one bullet. Your task is simple. One of you must kill the other." Travis swore loudly, yanking his chain. "You're insane." "I'm not going to kill anyone." The voice, as if anticipating his reaction, continued in an even, calm tone. "Objections are pointless. You have time to think. Exactly 7 hours. 63 minutes have already elapsed while you enjoyed your medicated sleep. If after 7 hours both of you remain alive, the devices attached to your loved ones will activate." Jack's heart stopped. "Devices? What devices?" he whispered. "Mr. Shaw," the voice addressed Travis, "your elderly mother, Edith Shaw, is currently at home. A rather primitive but effective bomb is attached to her wheelchair. If you fail the terms, she will die." Travis made a sound between a moan and a growl. "And you, Mr. Malone, bear a double responsibility. Your wife Lisa and your daughter Emily are in a locked car in an abandoned scrapyard outside the city. Carbon monoxide is slowly but inevitably filling the cabin. They are already asleep. Their death will be quiet and painless. Unless you save them. Tears welled hotly in Jack's eyes. Images flashed before him. Lisa laughing with her head thrown back, and Emily, so small with her two pigtails tightly gripping his finger. No. No, please, let them go. Take me, kill me, he screamed, frantically tearing at the chains. The metal dug into his wrist, drawing blood. The rules are simple. The voice continued impassively. One survives, the other two do not. Or you both die here, and your loved ones die there. The choice is yours. Good luck. Click. The light on the recorder went out. The tape stopped spinning. Silence fell, more terrible than any words. It was broken only by Travis's ragged, heavy breathing and Jack's choked sobs. Minutes passed. Each felt like an eternity. He's bluffing, Travis finally said. His voice trembled, but there was an attempt to pull himself together. It's torture. They won't touch ours. They just want us to do it for them. Did you see him? Jack hissed, his voice breaking into a shout, nodding toward the dead man. Do you see the hole in his forehead? He's not bluffing, Travis. Someone already played this game before us, and he lost. He chose death and his family. Oh, God. He fell silent again, choking on tears. His thoughts raced at a mad speed. Lisa, Emily, carbon monoxide. They are already asleep. Little Emily, her lungs. He felt physically sick. I can't kill them, Travis said. His voice no longer held a tremor but steel. I won't become a murderer. For whom? For a mother who's been a vegetable for 20 years. She won't even understand what's happening. She lives in her own world. And I'll live with this? No, that's your mother, Jack roared. My daughter is only 6, Travis. 6? Her whole life is ahead of her. Do you understand? And I understand that if I kill you, I become a monster. They will die by the hand of whoever is behind this, not by mine. I won't do their work. It's not their work. It's my choice. Jack looked around wildly, his gaze falling on the revolver. Shiny death in the hand of a corpse. Just one bullet. Just one chance. Give me the gun. Give it to me, Travis. How? We're chained, you idiot. The chains indeed didn't allow them to reach the center of the room. Jack, stretching his leg, could only barely touch the edge of the barrel. Nothing more. Despair began to turn into hysteria. We have to think. Travis hissed through his teeth. Check the chains. The rings. Maybe they're old, we can pull them out. They began to yank, shake, and strain the chains, trying to tear them from the wall mounts. But everything was solidly set in concrete. The minutes flew. Jack kept glancing into the darkness, trying to see a clock that wasn't there. His internal timer counted the seconds, each one bringing his girls closer to death. Why us? Travis suddenly asked quietly, stopping his useless struggle. What did we do? He said. Sinners. I'm not a sinner. Jack snapped. I work. I provide for my family. I'm an ordinary man. We're all ordinary. Travis grinned darkly. Until we end up in hell. He fell silent, then said slowly, A year ago. I was driving. Got into an accident, a girl on a moped. She came around a corner. I couldn't brake in time, she died. The court found me not guilty, but I always knew I could have been more careful. Could have. Is that my sin? Jack was silent. His own conscience, as if in response, obligingly supplied a memory. His project, that very residential complex. He knew the supplier was using substandard materials, means that's it. Punishment, but for what? His own conscience, as if in response, obligingly supplied a memory. His project, that very Omega residential complex. He knew the contractor, his old friend Mike, was using substandard materials. He knew and looked the other way. For profit, for deadlines, just to not notice. And then there was a partial balcony collapse. A woman died, her daughter. Mike took the blame and Jack hid behind a wall of silence and money. He saved his reputation, his career, saved his family from poverty, and now he was sitting here, and that very family, for whom he had made a deal with his conscience, was sentenced to death. Yes. He exhaled hoarsely. I am a sinner. Travis said nothing. Jack's confession hung in the air like a heavy, poisonous cloud. It brought no relief, only added fuel to the smoldering fire of hatred beginning to glow between them. They were no longer companions in misfortune. They were tools in the hands of a sadist, mirrors reflecting each other's most vile deeds. Suddenly a sharp, piercing sound came from somewhere in the ventilation system or a pipe. A siren that lasted exactly 1 second. Both flinched. "What was that?" Travis asked fearfully. The answer came immediately. The voice from the recorder, just as lifeless. A reminder. 2 hours have passed. 5 remain. Time is ticking, gentlemen. Don't waste it. The siren and the voice snapped Jack out of his stupor. Despair began to crystallize into a cold, tenacious resolve. He couldn't let Lisa and Emily die. He couldn't. The price of his own life, the price of a stranger's life, it all paled before that one thought. He stared at the revolver again. The key to salvation. It was so close and yet infinitely far away. "The chains," Jack whispered. "They won't let us reach, but he nodded at the dead man. "He was free. He could shoot, so we were chained after he was already dead. Or he was chained and then freed." Travis finished the thought. "Maybe the key is here." They began to frantically examine their immediate surroundings. Jack scraped at the ground beneath him, searching for anything that could help. His fingers hit something hard and small. His heart raced. He dug away the earth. It was an old rusty nail. Useless junk. Travis, meanwhile exploring his wall, suddenly gasped. "There's something here," he whispered. "A metal plate. With writing. What does it say?" Jack asked impatiently. "Can't make it out. Covered in grime. Let me..." Travis began rubbing the plate with the cuff of his jacket. His heavy breathing was audible. "Seems like numbers. 6 digits. 6 digits? Like a combination lock?" Jack looked around. Where could a lock be? His gaze fell on his shackles. A massive old staple driven into the wall. No lock. Just an iron ring looped through an even more massive fixture. "Maybe not here," Travis suggested. "Maybe on something else." Jack looked at the recorder. The barrel. The corpse. "Search him," he said quietly to Travis. "The dead one." "What? No." "He might be the only clue, Travis." "His pockets!" "A key, a code, anything." "Give me that nail. I can try to roll the gun toward me." They exchanged items, rolling them across the ground. With trembling hands, Travis, wincing in disgust, began feeling the dead man's pockets. Jack, holding his breath, tried to hook the revolver's grip with the long, rusty nail. Metal scraped against metal. The gun shifted but wouldn't move. It was painstaking, almost impossible work. "Nothing," Travis gritted out. "No keys, just this." He pulled a crumpled piece of paper from the victim's breast pocket. "A note. What does it say?" Jack asked, not looking up from his task. Travis unfolded the paper. The light beam was weak. He had to squint. "Forgive me, Sarah, I couldn't choose." "Just couldn't. Better me." And a signature. David. Silence swallowed them again, but now it was filled with a new, soul-chilling meaning. David couldn't kill his partner. He chose death himself. And his Sarah. Sarah was probably dead. He couldn't do it, Travis whispered, and a note of hope returned to his voice. He didn't play by their rules. He didn't become a murderer. "And he's dead!" "And his Sarah is dead." Jack cut him off sharply. The nail screeched off the grip. "Is that what you want? You want your mother and my girls to end up the same? That's not heroism, Travis. That's weakness." "It's humanity!" Travis shouted back. "It's selfishness!" Jack retorted. "He saved his soul and condemned his loved one to death. I won't let that happen. I will fight." His rage gave him strength. He yanked the chain with all his might, not trying to pull out the ring, but trying to break a link itself. The metal groaned, but didn't give. Suddenly his gaze fell on how the chain was attached to the wall. Not to a ring, but to a strange, massive bolt with a nut. And the nut had notches. 6 sides, 6 digits. A code. Travis, the code. "It's not for a lock. It's a combination. The nut needs to be unscrewed." "It is the lock." Travis, excited again, looked closely at his own fixture. "You're right. The same. But how to unscrew it? Can't do it by hand. It's frozen tight." Jack looked at his nail. Weak, bent, not a tool. His gaze slid back to the pistol, to its massive metal grip, to the barrel, to the trigger guard, to something that could be used as a pry bar, as a lever. An idea, swift and terrible, formed in his head. The gun. he said, and his voice became alien. Flat. It can be used as a key. Fit it onto the nut, use it as a wrench. Break it or unscrew it. You're insane. It's loaded. One wrong move and we have no choice. Jack roared. It's the only chance. We have to reach it. They set to work with renewed fury. Jack with his nail, Travis with a picked-up shard of brick. They tried to move the revolver, roll it, pry it. The minutes flew. Their fingers were rubbed raw. Their breathing became hoarse and rapid. The screech of metal was the only sound breaking the oppressive silence, and suddenly, luck. The revolver's grip caught on a rut in the floor. Jack pried it with the nail, and the weapon, describing a small arc, began to slowly, millimeter by millimeter, move toward him. Yes, Travis exhaled. It's working. A few more agonizing minutes. The revolver was now almost within Jack's reach. He could almost touch it with his toes, and at that moment the siren wailed again. A 2-second howl. Another 2 hours had passed. 3 remained. The voice didn't comment. Instead, a new sound filled the basement, a quiet growing hum. And somewhere in the darkness, high under the ceiling, 2 small screens lit up. One showed a woman about 80 sleeping peacefully in her chair by the fireplace. An ugly homemade contraption of wires and plastic with a blinking red LED was attached to her chest. On the second screen, Jack screamed. It was his car, his Lexus. The rear window was completely fogged up from the inside. At the wheel, slumped against the headrest, slept Lisa. In the back seat, in her child seat with a stuffed rabbit in her hands, slept Emily. Her cheeks were unnaturally rosy. A small canister was neatly attached to the ventilation vent on the dashboard, a barely visible transparent tube leading from it into the cabin. No, Jack muttered, and his resolve instantly evaporated, replaced by panic, animal terror. Emily, Lisa! He lunged forward, forgetting the chains, forgetting everything. The steel bit into his wrist, pain shot through his brain, but he felt nothing but all-consuming fear for them. Travis silently watched the screen with his mother. His face turned to stone. The image lasted exactly 1 minute and went out. The hum of the generators died down, but the picture remained before their eyes, burned into their retinas. Jack sobbed, beating helplessly against his shackles. It was over. He had lost. He wouldn't save them. He would die here in the dirt, and they would die there one day, never knowing he could have saved them. And then that same calm, lifeless voice sounded in his head. Not from the recorder, inside him. You could. Just one shot. One movement. You're an architect. You've solved much more complex problems. Find a solution. He raised his head. His tear-filled eyes met Travis's, and in them he saw the same thing. Cold, calculating horror. The desire to live, at any cost. There was no more room for doubt. The game had truly begun. Jack stretched, with all his might. His toes touched the cold grip of the revolver. Travis, his voice was hoarse but firm. Help me, roll it closer. Just a bit more. Travis didn't move. He looked at Jack, and his gaze held a heavy, unspoken thought. If you get it, what will you do? He asked quietly. Jack didn't answer. He concentrated. Another centimeter. Another half centimeter. His toes cramped, but he hooked the strap on the grip and pulled the weapon toward him. It was at his feet. His heart hammered wildly. He bent over, stretching the chain to its limit, the muscles in his back and shoulder burning with fire. His fingers slid over the rough grip, and finally he grabbed it. The weight of the weapon in his hand felt incredibly familiar and alien at the same time. It was cold and heavy, the weight of life and death. He straightened up, holding the revolver in his trembling hand. The muzzle was pointed at the floor. He looked at Travis. He was sitting, pressed against the wall. He wasn't trying to defend himself. He just watched. His eyes held not fear, but an infinite weariness and understanding. Will you do it? Travis simply asked. Jack raised the gun. His hand shook. Before him stood Lisa and Emily, their smiles, their laughter, their lives. He cocked the hammer. The click sounded deafeningly loud. Sorry, Jack whispered. A shot rang out. The roar of the shot deafened him, echoing in the confined space of the basement with a deafening echo. But the bullet didn't hit Travis. It went into the floor, a centimeter from his foot, tearing out a clump of earth and smoke. Jack lowered his hand. It shook so much he could barely hold the revolver. Tears streamed down his face, mixing with the grime. "I can't," he exhaled hoarsely. "I can't do it." Travis, pale as a sheet, slowly opened his eyes. He hadn't been breathing. It seemed his heart had stopped for that endless moment until the roar was replaced by a ringing silence. "You..." He tried to say something, but the words stuck in his throat. "I won't become a murderer," Jack said, and a new note appeared in his voice. Not despair, but a strange, painful relief. Even for them. They wouldn't want me to become a monster. Emily, she wouldn't understand. She'd be afraid of me. He looked at the revolver in his hand. The instrument of death, now useless. There had been only one bullet. "We're doomed," Travis whispered. He didn't sound joyful. He sounded gutted. "No," Jack said sharply. His brain, freed from the monstrous choice, began working at a furious speed. "Not yet." He said, "One of you must kill the other." He didn't say only one must survive. He said one must kill. "I didn't kill you. But we used the bullet. The game is broken." He raised the gun and threw it toward the recorder. It flipped over with a dull thud. "Hear that, you bastard?" Jack screamed into the void. "We're not playing your game. We're not choosing. Go to hell." They waited, holding their breath, waiting for retribution, waiting for the voice to declare them losers, for the screens to go dark forever, but nothing happened. Silence, a minute, two, maybe. "Maybe he's gone," Travis suggested timidly. Suddenly the recorder clicked again. The red light blinked, but the voice that sounded was different, not distorted. It was human, tired, and it held mockery. "Interesting," the voice said. "Very interesting. An unexpected move, Mr. Malone, a pattern break. You both chose to accept the death of your loved ones but preserve the illusion of moral purity. Or you just couldn't bring yourselves to do it." Jack was silent, clenching his fists. "Doesn't matter," the voice continued. "Rules are rules. You failed the condition, so your loved ones will die. Prepare to hear." He didn't finish. A new sound suddenly rang out, an insistent, loud telephone ring. It came from the dead man's pocket, from David's pocket. Jack and Travis looked at each other. The ringing didn't stop. Insistent, demanding. "Answer it," Jack whispered. "What?" "No, answer it, Travis. This isn't part of his script. He didn't expect this. Hear that? The voice is silent." It was true. No sound came from the recorder, just the quiet hiss of tape. Travis, fighting disgust, crawled toward the corpse. His chain allowed him to reach. He shoved his hand into the dead man's pants pocket and pulled out an old, battered mobile phone. The screen glowed. No number. "Unknown caller." Travis disgustedly put the phone to his ear. "Hello?" His voice trembled. A woman's voice came from the speaker, quiet, full of tears and hope. "David? David, honey? It's me, Sarah. I don't know what's happening. I'm okay. I'm in the hospital. I woke up. They found me in the park. I was unconscious. David, where are you? Where are you?" An icy shiver ran down Jack's spine. Sarah was alive. David had died in vain. His sacrifice was pointless. Travis didn't know what to say. He stared at Jack with wide eyes. "Ma'am," he finally stammered. "Your husband." "Hey, who is this? Where's David? What happened?" Sarah's voice became frightened. Suddenly the connection cut off. The phone gave a short beep and went dead, and immediately the phone in Travis's pocket rang. He gasped, recoiling. He frantically reached into his pocket and pulled out his own device. The screen also showed unknown caller. With trembling hands, he answered the call. "Mom," he said immediately. It wasn't her voice. "Someone else is official. This is the ambulance service. We're trying to reach the relatives of Edith Shaw. Am I speaking with her son?" "Yes, I'm her son." "What's wrong?" "There's been an accident with your mother." She fell from her chair, apparently trying to reach something. "The alarm system you installed went off. The ambulance arrived in time. She's in the hospital now. The doctors say it's shock, but her life is not in danger. She asks to call you." Travis didn't hear the rest. He lowered the phone and stared at Jack. "She's not home," he whispered. "She was taken to the hospital. The bomb. It wasn't on the chair. She wasn't home." They both looked at the screens. They were dark, but now that darkness looked not like a sentence, but like a deception. The picture could have been a recording, an old recording. The voice from the recorder finally broke the silence. And for the first time, it held emotion, rage, cold, unbridled rage. Unscheduled intervention. It hissed. This is unacceptable. The game was pure. From behind the barrels in the depths of the basement came footsteps, heavy, measured. A man emerged from the darkness, tall in a long black coat, with a mask hiding his features. In his hand was a pistol with a silencer, a guard, an overseer, the one who had been watching them all along. "The game is over," said the voice from the recorder. "You failed the test, but since external forces have chosen to interfere, your fate will be different." The man in the coat raised his pistol. The barrel was aimed at Travis. Instinct worked faster than thought. Jack, still clutching the useless revolver, did the only thing available to him. He threw it with all his might at the man in the coat. The heavy metal hit him in the arm. A muffled shot rang out, the bullet embedding itself in the ceiling, showering them with brick dust. The man in the coat roared in pain and fury, his pistol flying from his hand and skittering into the darkness. For a moment, chaos reigned. "The key," Jack shouted to Travis. "He must have a key to the chains."
"Look for it!"
The man in the coat, clutching his injured arm, lunged for his weapon. Travis, without thinking, lunged to meet him as far as his chain allowed. He couldn't reach the man, but he could reach the pistol. His fingers touched the cold metal. He hooked it and kicked it even farther into the darkness, toward Jack. Jack caught the pistol sliding across the floor. The weight was completely different, real, lethal. The man in the coat stopped. He was unarmed against an armed opponent. He slowly retreated back into the shadows. "Don't move," Jack commanded, unsteadily holding the pistol at arm's length. A hoarse, hissing laugh came from the recorder. "Too late, Mr. Malone. Far too late." A deafening crash sounded. Not a shot. Part of the ceiling collapsed with a roar, blocking the exit and plunging the basement into near total darkness. Dust choked their mouths and noses. When the dust settled a little, they saw that the man in the coat had disappeared, as if he had dissolved into thin air. The exit was blocked, but something had changed. During the collapse, a massive beam had fallen on Travis's chain, pinning it to the floor and tearing the fixture from the wall. Travis was still chained, but now his chain wasn't tied to an immovable point. He could move. "Dear God," he whispered, pulling on the chain. I'm free. Well, almost." "The key," Jack repeated, still aiming into the darkness. "Search him. He must have it." Travis, dragging his chain, began searching the corner where they had last seen the man in the coat. He found only a shred of black cloth torn on the beam. "He's gone. He escaped through some hatch," he yelled. Jack lowered the pistol. Despair washed over him again. They were trapped. Again. But now with a weapon and a glimmer of hope. Travis walked over to Jack, dragging his chain. He looked at the fixture on the wall. "Give me the gun," he said. "Let's try to shoot the lock off." Jack silently handed him the weapon. Travis aimed at the carbine ring on his wrist. His hand shook. "Don't hit my hand," Jack joked darkly. The shot, muffled by the silencer, deafened them. The bullet ricocheted off the steel band, barely missing Travis. "Damn it!" he swore. "Stop!" Jack peered closer. Look, after the shot, on the steel ring through which the chain link passed was a notch, a small dent from the bullet. And in that dent, something like a microchip with a tiny LED was visible. Now it was shattered and not glowing. "What is that?" Travis whispered. Jack brought his own wrist closer to the light. His manacles had the same chip, carefully soldered into the metal. Not just chains, he realized. Sensors. He was monitoring us, knew what we were doing, knows where we are. He raised the pistol and aimed at his own bracelet. He turned his head and pulled the trigger. Another deafening crack. Pain shot through the bone, but when he opened his eyes, the manacles were still on him. But the microchip was shattered to pieces. And most importantly, the lock, the mechanical part, was cracked. Jack yanked his hand toward himself with all his might. The sound of metal breaking screeched. With a crack, the lock gave way and the manacles opened. Jack's hand was free. He rubbed his wrist, which had a bloody welt. Then he raised the pistol and did the same to the manacle on his leg, then freed Travis. They stood facing each other, swaying, free but still trapped. Jack held the pistol. Around them was darkness and rubble. "We're getting out of here," Jack said hoarsely. "And we're finding the one who did this. We'll find him." He looked at the dark, silent recorder. The voice was silent. The game was perhaps over, but the hunt was just beginning. Somewhere in the city, his wife and daughter were in mortal danger, and now, with a weapon in his hands and fury in his heart, he would do anything to find them, even if he only had 3 hours left.